Continuing with the topic of autopsy, today we'll discuss the exhumation. Exhumation, basically it's made of two words, ex and humus. Ex is out of and humus is soil. So that means examination out of soil. We'll discuss various medical legal aspects and issues which are related with the exhumation. So exhumation is exhume and humus, that is examination out of ground. And this is lawful disinterment of grave. Examination under the orders of state. So exhumation means lawful disinterment or digging out of a dead body out of grave which has already been buried. And reason is for autopsy, for medical investigation, or any other purpose, because sometimes identity, recovery of certain objects which has been buried along with the dead body. So there are various objectives. And this is under section 176 of Criminal Procedure Code. We have discussed these laws in autopsy. Section 174 is basically wherever any death in suspicious circumstances occurs, the police investigation officer visits the scene of crime. And this section 176 also empowers the further investigation in the fresh cases, but it empowers the district magistrate to order for the exhumation, disinterment of the grave, digging out of the grave, to find out the objectives which are concerned with the authorities or with the relatives. So this is pictures of various digging out process. And the important thing is the relatives or the person who seeks the disinterment, he writes an request application to the authorities, and that is the area magistrate, which is district magistrate of that area. So the person seeking to exhume the body must submit a petition or written application for the disinterment of the body. And usually there is a general decline because of the respect of the dead body, because of not disturbing the remains of the dead body, it is generally declined. So that's why a valid reason with the written request by the relatives or the state, whoever requires the examination, that is required. So naturally it is traumatic for the family to exhume a body out of the grave. So exhumation is a removal of the body or cremated remains, because in various countries the bodies are burned, and that burnt remains, they are buried and they can be ordered for examination. And it also covers the disturbance of remains within the grave. Sometimes you have to search for something, you have to rebury from one place to the other or recover something, then that is disturbing of the grave, and that is upon this orders. So what are the objectives? The main objective, identification or to determine the cause of death if the body has been buried without initial examination when the death has occurred under suspicious circumstances. And it is sometimes requested by the relatives, by the persons, or the police or the court when they think that this digging out is necessary to find out the cause of death in suspicious circumstances or any other objective. Then it can be as a second autopsy when the relatives, the court, the police, they are not satisfied with the first examination, and then they can order for the re-examination on exhumation. And whenever there is re-examination, usually autopsy is conducted by one doctor, the medical officer, and when there is a re-examination, after the first examination in exhumation, that is done by the board, a group of doctors. But if the initial examination has not been carried out and it is no exhumation for the first time, that will be conducted by only one doctor, because this will be the first examination in a buried man. Whenever there is re-examination after the first examination, then it is done by the board, or if it is the first examination at exhumation, then it is done by the single doctor. Then other reasons, sometimes searching for the papers, documents, or any other article or material which has been buried along with the dead body, that has to be recovered. So rules, the authority, as we discussed, it is under section 176. The district magistrate or executive district magistrate is empowered by this law to issue the orders for the exhumation upon the request, written request, by the relatives, the legal heirs, the police, or the court. And usually the cases are the criminal cases. But in civil cases, the permission of the next of kin, the blood relative or the legal heirs, that is necessary. Supervision is the process is such that the district magistrate empowers some area magistrate. One of the area magistrate is ordered or authorized to accompany the team. So magistrate with the police and the team, they visit the place of burial. And the police is basically because of the security reason, because of the cordon of the area, because of the identity of the grave. Because the doctor's part will be only the examination of the body. When the body will be exhumed out of the ground, then they will hand over the body to the doctor for examination. And rest of the job, supervision, is the magistrate and the police, which cordon of the area, which identify the graves, and they get it secured, the cordon of the area of the burial. Regarding the time limit, in Pakistan, there is no time limit. The autopsy, the exhumation orders can be passed at any time. But in the rest of the world, in certain countries, there is a time limit. Like in France, it is 10 years, in Germany, it is 30 years. But in Pakistan, there is no time limit. At any time, the exhumation orders can be passed out. And India, because they bury the body, so there the exhumations are rare. But even then, if the remains of the burnt body are buried in the grave, they are ordered for the exhumation. Then the prerequisite requirement, the most important, is that this all job is done by the police. They cordon off the area. When they get the orders for the exhumation, the graveyard is cordoned off by the police, and they depute the police constables on the grave, so nobody should disturb that area. And a temporary mortuary is set near the grave, because you have to examine the body there on the side of the grave. So a temporary mortuary is set by the police, and which is usually by the tarpaulin, जो कनात लगा दी जाती है, तरपाल लगा जाती है, and a wooden board, which is usually for the washing of the dead body after burial, after death. That wooden board is provided. Temporary mortuary is established at the grave, near the grave. Then ventilation and illumination, it should be done in the brightest part of the day, and usually it is in the daytime, started in the morning, so that you can finish your work before the evening. And for ventilation, usually it is recommended that the three sides of the grave, they are covered with the screens, and the one side is left open towards the windward, towards the direction of the wind. That side is left open so that the putrefaction gases should be flown out with the wind blow. And that is how that three sides are covered with the screen and one side is left open for the ventilation. Then the disinfection is sprinkled, it is around the body, not on the dead body. This is how the screens, they are erected around the grave. This is the grave being identified, digging process. And the identification of the grave is by the relatives. And police bring those identifiers and they identify that this is the grave which is under question. And this is the job of the police. And police bring the witnesses along with the identifiers, which may be the next of kin, which may be the relative, and they identify the grave. Then the grave is dug out and body is recovered. And when it is recovered, then the magistrate hands over the body to the doctor. And it's a written, all the documentation is done. At what time the team reached there, at which time the digging started, and at which time the body was exhumed out, and at what time the body was handed over. So all documentation regarding time is noted down. And they hand over the body to the doctor if it is a first examination, and a team or board of doctors if it is a re-examination or second examination. So the precaution that adequate light and ventilation necessary, so it should be on the brightest part of the day, usually in the morning time it should be started, and the ventilation is that three sides should be covered and one should be kept open so that the gases can be flown away. Then when the body is dug out and put on the wooden board, it is left there for some time so that the gases which are emitting out of the dead body, they are dissipated and the smell is reduced. Then the antiseptic solution, they are sprinkled around the body, not on the body. And the most important, the workers, they should wear complete protective clothing. That is the cap, mask, the gloves, the long rubber shoes, the goggles, all the protective covering should be weared. Then if any cut or wound, what we call the wound which we get at autopsy? Necropsy wound. Necropsy wound. So whenever the worker gets the necropsy wound, that is the wound or cut while performing the autopsy or the exhumation, he should immediately leave that place, wash it thoroughly, within dip it with disinfectant, and get anti-tetanus injections or antibiotic if it is needed. Then grave is dug very carefully without damaging the coffin, without damaging the body. So it is a slow, very careful process. So this is how the grave, when it is You can see the body down there. Then the dimension of the grave, they are noted down, how depth, how wide. Then the examination, its procedure is same examination as we do it at autopsy. That is, there is external examination of the clothes, that is the shroud, which is the covering of the body, and external examination of the body, internal examination, collection of material. It is needed in exhumation. And you should search for any evidence which is there, any object, anything which is lying beside the body, you should search for that. Then after removing, cleaning the body, it should be photographed. Usually all the process is photographed. The vicinity of the grave, that is which is the north side, east, west, what are other graves, their nameplate, they are all photographed. That is to locate the exact place of the burial. Then the drawings and the photograph, they are all are carried out. So this sometimes appears how the body has been dug out, and this is covered in shroud. After removing, this can be the condition of the body. Completely advanced putrefaction. So usually the body is in advanced putrefaction. It may be, if the orders are passed early, it may be in early putrefaction, but sometimes it is delayed, then it is in advanced stage of putrefaction. Then other parameters, because in fresh bodies we apply the subjective examination, but here objective and other parameters, they are applied. So we will try to estimate. They have told us the age, but doctor job is to determine the age, the sex, race, stature, marks of identification, or any foreign material, foreign body or bullet or the fracture, they can be recovered. And if there is any allegation of poisoning, suspected poisoning, then there is a list of viscera which is sent to the chemical examiner for determination of poison. And if the viscera, they are not recognizable, they have been putrefied, a pultaceous mass in the place of that viscera, then that mass can be taken. And sometimes the putrefaction is so advanced that the whole viscera is converted into a pulpy, pultaceous mass. No viscera is identifiable. Then from the cavity, chest cavity, you can take that pultaceous mass. From abdominal cavity, you can take, if the viscera, they are not identifiable, not recognizable. And if the viscera or the masses, even they are not present, they can be flown out, and then the hair, the nail, teeth, bone, and the skin, they are taken for the examination and for detection of poison or other chemicals. So we try to search in detail for the loose lying things, which may be teeth, which may be the bullet, the hyoid bone, the thyroid cartilage, any loose lying, they are collected and preserved. So what are the collection and recoveries which are made at exhumation? Usually, this was the list which was collected before the Punjab Forensic Science Agency was not framed. Now they have issued a certain other format. We'll discuss both. Previously, we used to collect the piece of shroud and earth, 500 grams of the earth from the sides, from above and below the body. And then a control specimen away from the grave is also collected to compare for the toxicological analysis. Then the organs of viscera, as we discussed, if they are identifiable, you can collect the stomach, the piece of liver, intestine, and spleen. And if they are not recognizable, then you can get the mass which is available. So these are the various jars which are collected and then dispatched to the chemical examiner. The shapeless mass or the fluid homogeneous mixture in the cavities, they are collected. If that is not available, then the hair, nail, and the piece of bone, usually the femur piece, is taken for the examination. Now, presently, the Punjab Forensic Science Agency had issued a, a new guideline regarding collection of material. On the fresh body, in routine, I am not talking of the exhumation. On fresh suspected case of poisoning, we routinely collect stomach with its contents, bottle number 1, bottle number 2, piece of small intestine approximately 2 to 3 feet, bottle number 3, piece of liver with gallbladder, spleen, half of each kidney or one kidney. And in the fourth bottle, the supersaturated saline as control. So this was the specimen list of specimen which were previously collected before the PFSA didn't issue the guideline. But presently they have changed it. On fresh body, previously we used to collect stomach with contents, piece of small intestine, piece of liver with gallbladder, spleen, and kidney, and control specimen of the preservative. So this is the present guideline, and they have now recommended that on the fresh body, in a case of poisoning, there is no need of dispatching the small intestine, large intestine, kidney, or spleen. The samples which are required for the poisoning: blood, urine, stomach without opening, and liver if the blood is not available. So this is the present guideline, that we do not dispatch that list which we used to send previously in a case of poisoning on fresh bodies. And when it is chronic case, then the nail and hair only. No need to send the bone, because usually the chronic poisoning is usually with the metallic poisons, and metallic poisons, they are deposited in the hair, nail, and bone. So no need to send the bone, only the hair and nail will serve the purpose. And now in exhumation, they have listed as pultaceous mass which is present in the thoracoabdominal, the chest and abdominal. The mass which is available, you can simply take that. Psoas muscle if available, nail and hair. No need to send the bone, no need to send the earth or the coffin. Only these four things they need. No need to send the coffin or soil as a control. Now, scope of exhumation. The scope or benefit is when you find the cause. But usually, if the allegation is in the soft tissues and the putrefaction has been set up, soft tissue finding will be lost. And if there is suspect of any disease process and you need to get the histopathological examination, that will also not possible. And if there is some poisoning which is volatile or which is degradable, that will also be lost. So the scope or the benefit will be only when you find a cause, like the broken bone, you recover a bullet, or you recover a metallic poison. So then it is beneficial. So scope depends upon the value, and scope depends upon the objective for which we are doing it. So it is usually rarely beneficial, because the putrefaction process and the decomposition, they have completely dissoluted the soft tissues and degraded the poisons which are volatile. So the first examination, the fresh body, is the most important. So if the poison, they are metallic, they can be detected. If, because the metallic poison, they resist putrefaction and they get deposited in the hair, nail and bones. Now regarding the limitation, the biggest limitation is the time period, because when the body is buried, we know that the putrefaction sets in after 24 to 36 hours in even fresh cases. And when it is buried, it can a little delayed because of the bury in the earth, but even then the putrefaction will be there. And biggest limitation in finding out any cause is putrefaction, because allegation गला दबा के मार दिया था, so finding will be in the soft tissue, they will be lost. Or if there is any allegation of the damage to the soft tissue, that will not be detectable because of putrefaction. So major limitation is putrefaction. So major limitation is time and time between death, which will lead to putrefaction, and this decomposition will destroy the findings in the soft tissues. And sometimes the bodies are completely skeletonized. The time period has been so delayed that the bodies are completely skeletonized. So these are various conditions because of the environmental factor, the nature of the soil, the time condition of the body at the time of the, they can alter the process of decomposition. Histopathological examination will be of no value because the cellular detail, because of the decomposition, will have lost. Similarly, the toxicological examination, the poisons which are volatile, the poisons which are degradable, they will not be detected. Only the metallic poison can be detected. Then sometime, if the team is or the doctor is not trained enough, not experienced enough, he can misinterpret the finding. So this is the major limitation, and it usually happens that you misinterpret the finding which is because of putrefaction, because of some other change in the body, and you can misinterpret as an antemortem injury. So major limitation, the biggest limitation is because of the inexperience of the team or the doctor. Thank you very much.